Inside of the One Piece community, the Marineford War is probably the most talked about arc behind Wano and Egghead, and this is mainly due to its story beats, but also its power scaling. And so as you can see by the thumbnail, I'm going to be going on the power scaling route. Now, I know you're looking at the thumbnail and the title and you've been like, okay, so he's probably just going to cover like the top 5 or top 10 strongest characters in Marineford. No. Everybody's probably done that, or I mean, I haven't really seen people do it, but I'm assuming that if they've done it, that's what they've done. So I'm going to put my own little twist on it. Why don't I rank everybody that participated in the war? I mean, not everybody, but like I'm gonna rank all the major players. So why don't you guys strap in, because I'm gonna get real in depth with this video. But before I get into this video, if you guys enjoy content like this, you know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe, as I do post content like this regularly, and in my opinion it's a win-win. You guys show support and I'll push out more videos like this in the near future. Whether it's One Piece, other anime, or just fiction in general, in due time I'm going to cover it, so be there when I go there. But that's enough of my rambling. Why don't we get into the video and try to find out who was the strongest person in the Paramount War. Now, hold up. Before we get into the video, why don't we go over the rules so you guys know what I'm doing this by. Now, the rules will be very simple. I'm going to be ranking everybody in tiers. So I'm going to have D tier, C tier, B tier, A tier, and S tier. And obviously after discussing that tier, I'm going to be giving you the strongest person in that tier, which means the strongest person in S tier will be the strongest person on Marineford. The second rule is I'll be ranking everybody on how they appeared inside the war. The only person I'll be giving a little bit of leeway space to is Ace, because he was heavily starved. And so those are the rules, so why don't we get straight into the video. So to begin the video, we have D tier, and we have a man that shall not be named, Buggy, Luffy, Ivankov, Smoker, and Kobe. Now obviously we have Buggy, who is definitely the weakest. Then we have Luffy and Kobe. Now obviously Kobe is weaker than Luffy, since we did see it. I know Kobe didn't really get to go all out since he was kind of scared, but I mean still, Luffy would have beat him anyway. We have Luffy, Smoker, and then Ivankov. Now the fight for first place is probably gonna go to Ivankov, mainly because she has Haki. Like maybe like, oh, when did Ivankov show Haki? Well, I mean, look, how else did Sanji get Haki? Like, don't pull that here. But yeah, I feel like Smoker's only up here because of Logi attacks, and Luffy, well, he doesn't have Haki yet, so he can't really do much. And yeah, so this spot goes to one of the Revolutionary Army's main commanders. But yeah, for Ivankov's feast, they do take an Akainu attack, and they do take out Passive Vista, and that's something that the rest of them here just can't do. So yeah, that is why they are the strongest here. Moving up a tier, this is where we actually get some good competition, since the characters here actually do stuff and they're a little bit interesting. In C tier, we have Jozu, Vista, Yasop, Izo, and Gecko Moria. Now Jozu does do a few impressive things, like he does damage an admiral, and then he's able to obviously take Mihawk's attack, but I don't believe that's anything too impressive when we look at it in the context that it's in. Obviously doing either is a massive feat, but when you then look at it and it's like, well, I mean, Aokiji wasn't really taking it too seriously, and then really just one-tapped him after, and then you're like, oh well, Mihawk wasn't really going all out there, we were just testing the waters to see what's going on. It's not as impressive as you can make it out to be, but yeah, it's still impressive anyway. Now next we have Vista. Now Vista fighting Mihawk is pretty good, although it wasn't a serious fight, it was just a stalling fight. It was pretty good, but the fact that Mihawk knew who Vista was does speak volumes to how good Vista is in terms of his strength, so I want to keep that in mind for later. Yasop has only blown up a ship, and he has the patrol of the red-haired pirates, which I'm going to get back to in a moment, but for now, yeah, he's only blown up a ship, so there isn't really much for me to say. Next up we have Izo, and Izo was able to fight with CP0. Now CP0's power level can range a little bit, since you could say that some of them are like commander level, some of them you could say are just a little bit lower, but we do know that the CP0 are pretty strong, so obviously this makes Izo pretty strong as well. Next up is Moria, and Moria here is going to be a little bit more depowered than when he was on Thriller Bark, and we saw what happened to him on Thriller Bark. To be honest, the only reason I'm not putting Moria down there in D tier is because, well, I guess patrol, that's about it. But realistically, he isn't that strong, so I'm going to go over the winner of this tier, and I think the winner of this tier should be very self-explanatory. The winner is Yasop, and I don't think a single soul here is surprised. I mean, he could go up a few tiers and nobody would bat an eyelid, but I decided to put him here since he's only blown up a ship and that's about it. Some of his other companions have done a little bit more, aside from another one that I've got that hasn't really done anything, but just because of his betrayal, I'm going to put him above Yasop. But aside from that, yeah, nah, Yasop is definitely stronger than all these guys here. Jozu and Vista do a few things, but we don't actually get to see them go all out, so we don't know where they're at. But I would say that Izo could be stronger than Jozu, and so then we have Vista, and we don't really know where Vista is at. I'm going to assume that he's commander level, seeing as Mihawk does know him, but aside from that, I mean, I can't really do too much. So yeah, the winner of C tier is Yasop. Moving up, we have B tier, and B tier has a lot of interesting characters that you could have debates about to see who is stronger, and so I'm gonna really get in depth with this one. B tier has Ace, Marco, Doflamingo, Crocodile, Lucky Roo, Kuma, and Jinbei. Now, we begin with Ace. If we want to include Ace's light novel, then there's a bunch of feats that he does gain, and this is where it does become very interesting. For the time being, I'm going to include it as like a side thing. Like, I'm going to include some important feats, but I'm not going to discuss everything he does there. In it, he seems like way more of a commander character, since obviously in pre-Timescape he didn't have Haki, but inside the light novel he seems like a proper commander level character, since he's able to clash with Whitebeard for a brief period of time. He has actual Haki, and there's other things that he does do. Then we have his crewman Marco, who, as we know, was going to be appointed the next Yonko crew if he did beat Blackbeard, and I think that is just a showing to how strong they think he is inside the verse. But I'd say Marco's greatest asset is definitely his endurance, as he's able to revive. He does take a lot of blasts from Kizaru, and he does a lot of things that just requires really good endurance. His AP isn't really that good, and obviously his durability doesn't really need to be good because he can heal, but his speed is really good though. Overall, I'd say he's somebody that relies more on his endurance and his speed for him to get him through battles, and somebody that relies more on his little hacks based abilities so he can get through fights. So yeah, he is a really good commander, and he does really deserve the spot here. Next up is Doflamingo, and we've seen the extent of what Doflamingo can do, although people want to really drag it. But Doflamingo is, I'd say, like a lower commander level character. I wouldn't say he is a commander level character, since somebody like Cracker is stronger than him, but I think he's just at that like borderline commander level, so he's a low commander level fighter. He doesn't really compare to like Ace and Marco on the list, but he is somebody that can hang with the lower level commanders. Next up is the man he clashed with, and that's Crocodile. Now, I don't exactly know how strong Crocodile is, as he does clash with Doflamingo and then he does clash with Mihawk, but we don't really know what else he does. He just does a whole bunch of clashing, he makes a full cool moves, and that's about it. He hasn't really shown his full power on display. Considering he went from fighting an Alabaster Luffy to now being able to clash with Doflamingo and Mihawk, I mean, the guy has to have some sort of secret power hidden away, so I'm not going to count him out, but for right now I'm not going to say that he's the strongest here. Next is Lucky Roo, and I don't know how strong Lucky Roo is. All we know is that he should be the second commander of the Redhead Pirates, and so I'm going to assume that that means he is very strong. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to call out Film Red, but Film Red isn't a canon source material, it's a movie, so I'm not going to say that, yeah, everything that he can do there, he can do in the story. I mean, if you want to use it, then yeah, he would be pretty strong. He'd be probably the strongest here, or just about the strongest here, or he could even put him up a tier, but I'm not going to say that he can do that. So yeah, let's just leave that to the side, say that he's pretty strong, and then just focus on the next character. Next on the list is Kuma, and this is a recently modified Kuma. I don't really know where to put him. Kuma's a weird character since he does do stuff, but he doesn't really do stuff. His Devil Fruit is really good. We do know that he has Haki, but I mean, that's about it. If I had to put money on it, I would say that Kuma is definitely one of the stronger people here, but we don't know where he ranks at the moment, so I'm going to leave him to the side. Finally, we have Jinbei. Now, Jinbei is the exact same guy that went toe-to-toe with Ace, and then obviously Ace got up and then fought Whitebeard right after that, and Jinbei says himself, he didn't show this type of power against me. So you know what that means. So all in all, who is the winner? Well, I'm gonna give it to Marco. If you've watched my video on Ace versus every commander, you would know how I view Ace versus Marco, and in my opinion, I do believe that Marco is just barely stronger than him. If you disagree, that's fine, but I'm gonna say here that Marco is stronger than Ace. So let's move into the next tier, and that is A tier. Now, I know the other times I did say that, oh, this is gonna be crazy, this is gonna be crazy, but no, A tier is when we start talking about the real top tiers, and this is where I want to start breaking down their feats and just breaking down how they work so we can really see who is the strongest. First up is Ben Beckman. Now, Ben Beckman has a very mixed review inside the community. Some people think that he's really strong, some people believe that no, he's just a commander that's just a bit above all the rest of the commanders. In my eyes, I believe that Ben Beckman is strong, but I don't believe he's as strong as a lot of people make him out to be. Now, as we know, Ben Beckman was able to take off Kid's arm in one shot. This was a pre-Wano Kid, and I don't really want to hype that feat up. Although it is very impressive, I don't want to say that, oh yes, it's the best feat ever. But unlike everybody else on the Redhead Pirates, it's a feat that we can scale off of, and along with that, we do have his betrayal. Now, Ben Beckman is called Shanks' moon to his son, and so a lot of people like to use this as like it's a power statement, but I think it's more of a betrayal statement and more like, oh, he's just that first commander, he's just the right hand man. It's the same way I would say that Roger's moon was probably Rayleigh, so it's kind of like a 1-to-1. I wouldn't say it goes for strength as well, but I mean, look, if you want to say that Shanks is Roger and obviously obviously Ben Beckman is Rayleigh, then yeah, you could say that. Ben Beckman is pretty weird to scale, as I'm going to get into somebody later that's also in A tier that a lot of people like to compare him to, but I just don't think he's that guy to it. Up next is Boa, and yes, I know a lot of you guys will be screaming, Boa? Why is Boa here? Listen, relax. Now let's get into the explanations, you're gonna understand why. Now the reason Boa is here is mainly due to her haki and devil fruit. Now on our island, we do know that haki is a common practice, and we do see her sister use emission haki on Luffy. And since Boa is stated to be stronger than everybody on the island, we can say that Boa should be able to use emission haki, and she does have Conqueror's haki. I think you know I'm going with this, but I'm not gonna say that she has it. But let's just say, I wouldn't be surprised if she does back out Advanced Conqueror's haki on the low. Now I can't sit here and say that she has Future Sight or some really good Observation haki. All I can say is that she does have Observation haki, and that's about it. Now finally we have her Devil Fruit, and her Devil Fruit is what sets her apart from a lot of people. A lot of people do misunderstand her Devil Fruit, when her Devil Fruit is quite literally, if you get touched by it, you're pretty much finished. Unless you're able to not focus on her beauty or just do something to obviously not allow the stone to travel across your body, you're going to be affected by it, and so it can make it an instant win con for her. And no, haki cannot stop it. It even says willpower here, so I'm going to assume that even Conqueror's haki cannot stop it. Next in line we have Sengoku. Now Sengoku does fight somebody else on this list, and a lot of people do downplay him because of that fight, but I believe that he just wasn't able to get off what he was able to get off in those few minutes he was able to fight Blackbeard in. I don't know why a lot of people like to slander this, like Blackbeard didn't just fight Whitebeard as well, and Whitebeard wasn't able to take him out, so why would Sengoku be able to take him out? When you reach this caliber of strength, nobody should be able to easily take you out in like a 2-second exchange. That is for commander level characters. These guys aren't commander level characters. And so since we're talking about Blackbeard so much, why don't we drag him along and talk about him as well. Up to this point, Blackbeard has terrorized Ace, he's now come to Marineford, he's taken a few blows from Whitebeard, he's killed Whitebeard, he's also taken a Devil Fruit, and he's also had a small exchange with Sengoku. At this point, we can say that he's definitely above all commanders, since he did fodderize Ace, and obviously he was able to take blows from Whitebeard and get up, and take blows from Sengoku and get up. So we can say that he is in that sort of like upper tier range, but we don't know exactly where he places. So I feel like if I just leave him here, I should be able to just come to a conclusion of where he is in this tier list, but don't worry, I'll come back to him in a minute. Following up on his friend and Blackbeard, why don't we go over Garp? I know everybody just jumped out of the chair like, what, Garp's here? What would you expect him to be? What, in S tier? Listen, Garp, I mean, he's strong, but there's a statement that is made that I'm going to bring up for the character next that really doesn't allow me to put him in that S tier. Now obviously we can use his feats from Hachinosu, since you could say that the Hachinosu Garp is actually weaker than this Garp because the Hachinosu Garp is older, so yeah, everything that he does there can apply to here. And I already know everybody's gonna be like, oh, but he's gonna kill Akainu. No, he wasn't gonna kill anyone. Relax. He said that out of pure anger and rage. I don't know why everybody's taking that thing seriously like he knew what he was talking about. The guy was talking out of pure rage since he just saw his grandson die. Can we relax? But I don't want to come off as a Garp hater, since I do love Garp. Garp is one of my favorite characters in the entire story, so yes, Garp is very strong. We do see him box an admiral at a later stage in the story as well, so we can say that yeah, he is that guy, but for right now he has a statement over him that kind of just nudges him down a little bit. And so since I keep bashing on about this statement, why don't I talk about a character that this statement does apply to? Next up is Kizaru. Now Kizaru does have a statement that puts him and his companions above Garp, Sengoku, and basically everybody else in the Navy. As you can see, it says that they are the 3 strongest people in the Navy, so you know what that means? It means that he's stronger than Garp and Sengoku without a doubt. So all it does is it leaves me to argue him against Boa, Ben Beckman, and Blackbeard. And I'm sorry to tell you, Blackbeard isn't stronger than Kizaru. He isn't taking on no type of Gear 5 Egghead Luffy. He's not doing that. Next is Ben Beckman, and this panel right here has done irreparable damage to the community's brain when it comes to Kizaru. So why not I put the panel after and show you guys what really happened. As we can see, Ben Beckman said, oh wow, he really went and did it after I threatened him. Yeah, no shit, what did Shanks say at the beginning of the series? Why didn't you shoot? And lastly, we have my queen Boa, and yeah, she does get packed up sadly. So the winner of A tier is Kizaru. And so finally, we have S tier, the real bad boys. Here we have Akainu, Aokiji, Mihawk, Shanks, and Whitebeard. Now to randomly start this off, I'm going to go with Shanks. Now Shanks, as we know, has the patrol. We've seen what he does later in the story, and I don't think he's gotten stronger in that period of time. I mean, he may have, but I don't think he has. So yeah, we can use that kid one-shot feat. And just overall his patrol and just the statements around him, just everything around him, with him even stopping Kaido before coming. Yeah, Shanks is definitely that guy. Next up is Mihawk, and we do know what type of title he does have. So I'm going to let you ponder on that World's Strongest Swordsman title and come back to him later. Next up is Aokiji, and he does have his fight with Akainu after the war, and I do have a little theory on that I'm going to talk about briefly in the Akainu section, but obviously we do know that he has future sight, and we do know that he does have advanced arm and haki as well to back himself up, and he's just an admiral, so we do know that he's really strong. And if you don't want to believe his monstrous strength, just know that his physical strength is able to match that of Gar. Next we have Whitebeard, who obviously was able to fight against Akainu, but this Whitebeard isn't the prime Whitebeard that you're probably thinking of. It's an old and sick Whitebeard who's obviously dying while fighting, so he isn't going to be the strongest, but just know that he's still very strong. He still has his devil fruit, and he does have his raw physical capabilities that were able to help him out against Akainu, so he's definitely somebody you do not want to sleep on. And so lastly we have Akainu, and Akainu does go mad on Marineford. Akainu fought everybody he could fight, but mainly he did fight Whitebeard and obviously the Whitebeard pirates, and then after the war he fought Aokiji, and we know how that fight turned out. Now in a few translations, Aokiji is called the strongest person in the navy when we first meet him, but obviously as we know he does lose against Akainu. So my whole thought process behind him versus Akainu is probably Akainu must have gotten some sort of haki bloom while fighting Whitebeard, and that's why he was able to beat Aokiji later. I mean, you can disagree with that and I'm totally fine with that, but that is just something I wanted to throw out there. But now that I've covered everyone here, who was the strongest on Marineford? Now everybody here does have a solid claim to the top spot. I mean, the only person here that you could say doesn't have a claim to that top spot is Whitebeard, as we do see that everybody's like, okay, he's on the decline, so why don't you move Whitebeard out of the way and focus on everybody else? Now everybody here does have a solid claim, but in my eyes I believe that on that exact day Mihawk was the strongest person on Marineford. Now before you start booing me, please listen out to what I'm about to say. Number 1, Shanks is a swordsman, Mihawk is the world's strongest swordsman title. I don't really understand what is so hard for everybody to grip and just understand. I would understand if Zoro's main goal wasn't to be the world's strongest swordsman. I'd say that Shanks is the strongest, but well, unfortunately a protagonist does have that sort of goal in mind, and I doubt Oda's gonna really just doo-doo all over his goal. So yeah, unfortunately Shanks gets ruled out. Now you have Aokiji and Akainu. Now either one of them, if you want to put them at the top spot, I wouldn't really care. But my main thought process behind them not being at the top spot is because I believe both of them just bloomed during their fight, and then you can just say that, oh, Akainu is stronger than Mihawk post time skip. If you said that to me, I really wouldn't care. But I feel like before, I feel like Mihawk was the strongest person there. And so with that being said, why don't I wrap up the video? If you guys disagree with me in anything, you know what to do, comment down below. Please keep it civil because I don't want anybody getting too toxic. I have been monitoring these chats. A few of you man do get toxic very quickly and don't know how to word yourself so you don't sound like you're toxic. But yeah, I know you guys do have pure intentions behind what you're saying. I do know that sometimes it can tick you off, but let's try to keep it on the low, please. And if a single soul in that comment section decides to say I'm a Mihawk or Zoro fan, I swear on everything I love, please do not aggravate me today. But that's enough out of me, man. I shall see you guys in the next video. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for 3,000 subscribers. We're only going up from here. So yeah, I shall see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.